Hello and welcome to Khyber Shards, a 5th edition actual play show set in the Eberron campaign world. It is Friday, and so we have a Khyber Shards Answers to this week featuring Eric.
Boom.
Hi.
Hello.
And his ever-shifting background this week, guitar.
There it is.
Mm-hmm. When's the last
buddy.
time you played that?
I don't want to talk about it.
I was just curious.
No.
I remember you playing, but it's
been about 2 years since I
Okay.
played it, so Yeah.
Cool. Well, we are pretty short on questions this week, but before we jump to those, I am curious. So at this stage, having in the most recent episode, we went to the tomb, got into the tomb. There was some business with trap.
Some things happened.
Eyes were plucked out. Traps were triggered. Maybe mistakes were made.
And maybe he's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
And an escape. And an escape was managed. So with all of that, and obviously it's so close in terms of game time, but having done it, where is Ari on the decision to reincarnate Tommel at this stage in the game? Is Ari, this was a good idea, this was a terrible mistake, I'm confused?
Yeah. I mean, Ari is never going to feel it unless you have a whole redemption arc in your back pocket. Ari's never going to feel good about having brought back somebody that is dangerous for him, for his friends, for the kids at the school, for the rebel warring gang, etc.
Sure.
So yeah, and then he gave us a couple of good leads, going and checking out the elf stuff, and then knowing that Colseer is going after the Cannith facility. And so, I think it kind of the ends haven't arrived yet to know whether or not the means have justified them, kind of thing.
Right.
So if we get to the Cannith facility and we stop these horrifying monsters, but it doesn't lead to anything with Colseer, then Ari's just gonna be like, what was the point? Like we got nothing out of bringing this person back. And so yeah, that's kind of where Ari is at. Is it's still, I don't think Ari minced any words in his feelings about this, and Eric's not going to either. Tommel was a tool in life, and he is now a tool in resurrection. But different. He brought back Tommel because he needed something from Tommel that he could not get anywhere else. Ari, like in that conversation that they had with Tommel, Ari wasn't trying to redeem Tommel or listen to Tommel or hear Tommel out. Like, Tommel was brought back to get information from him, and that's that. So that's kind of where Ari's at with Tommel. And that might sound cold, but Tommel has gotten a lot of people killed by this point.
There's a lot of context for that coldness.
Yes. And so there's clearly no remorse in Tommel for what's happened, or at least none that he's willing to express. And Ari can only do so much with what you're not willing to express. So it's just like,
sure,
okay, if you're cool with your lot in life and the direction you've taken, then I'm going to be cool treating you accordingly. So yeah,
sure. No, that's fair. That's fair.
And I think that really sucks for Tommel and any fans of Tommel, because I think Ari was the only shot Tommel had. Like, at this point, like, I think Ari was Tommel's only hope in this group of giving him the time of day. And yeah, I think we're past that point for not only Tommel's fault. I think Ari is just getting tired. I mean, he literally died, and as soon as he gets brought back, the first order of business is like, we got to also bring back Tommel. Great. So yeah, I think Ari is just exhausted with everything that's being put upon them, and so his patience is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, which we kind of saw with the tomb and
Yeah.
kind of Ari's reaction to the trap being set of Ari didn't like snap at anybody, but he was very like, well, guess that's that. Let's
Yep.
move on to the
That
next thing.
happened.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, that watching Ari bottle up his feelings was
Yep.
what was fun. That was good. No, I mean I saw where that was going and thought, we're not going to get into that tomb, are we?
Yep. Yep.
And no, sure enough, no.
Was really relying on Cal to keep things on the straight and narrow, and
I offered the little warning.
Yeah.
First one came out, things start cracking. Go for the second one. All right, here we are. That was too funny. That was a wonderful little collection of very in character decisions being made, and the natural consequences of that. It was delightful in so many ways. And it'd be interesting to see, where you guys go from here in terms of the things that were not reached. So that will be fun.
And who knows what that is? We'll find out when the time comes for us to need them.
I know.
Yes.
Okay. And then second thing. So, obviously you guys learned about this Canada facility, set Thor on that. Ari's interested in that. Where's the balance of why Ari is worried about that between Kenneth is up to something awful and Kulsir? It has to do with Kulsir. Where is Ari's focus in that area?
I mean, Kulsir definitely lit the fire. Dane talked about it being a problem way back when, and we let Dane handle it. I guess not, though. And so I think, given where this episode ended, I think Ari's focus is about to shift pretty dramatically. But right now it's okay, Kulsir is going to go try to deal with this, so maybe we can two birds one stone kind of thing. But the Kenneth facility threat is still theoretical in a lot of ways. Kulsir is a very real threat, and so Kulsir is the bigger concern at this point. And so I think it's much more of, we're going to go meet Kulsir there than go deal with the Kenneth facilities where Ari's at.
That makes sense. All right. Well, we have a few questions from Emily. First of all, just a mechanical question. Is Ari currently, I guess was mechanical and narrative, is Ari currently a Koravar or a Hexblood? I know his previous debts with the Forgotten Prince were canceled and his species was put in a jewel when it was taken from him, but it was never stated mechanically now. Nor is it stated if the species jewel was also the rock that put his soul back in his body. Plus, his eyes still look the way they still aren't the way they were when he was a Koravar. Good catch.
Yeah. So Ari is still a Hexblood. Ari, when that jewel was broken open, like that was part of the resurrection ritual. So nobody's told Ari, we opened this crazy jewel and it went out and went into your soul and body and stuff. And so
that's true.
I think Ari probably still thinks that jewel is somewhere where he can become a Koravar again at some point. But obviously Eric, meta knowledge, understanding that, no, I mean, Ari mourned the loss of being a Koravar when it happened with the prince. And I think for a bunch of reasons, including his closeness with Shade and kind of his shifting attitude and his priorities, in my brain, Ari identifies much more as a Fae than a Korrivar now. And so that is how he continues to manifest. Like when his soul re-entered his body, it was still Fae. And so he's
Mm-hmm.
remained a Fae. Ari doesn't understand that. And Ari will probably be devastated once he learns that. But that's why Ari remained a Hexblood.
Cool. Second question. Given how freaked out Kara was by Ezri being descended from the line of Vol, how badly do you think she'd react to learning that Ari is now working for the last scion of the line of Vol? And would this reaction be better or worse if she learned that Ari had permanently died?
Yeah. So obviously Kara's initial reaction to Ezri bearing the mark of death, in my brain, and at least from Kara's perspective, and maybe a lot of Irani, like the mark of death would be a bigger boogeyman than the name Arandis Vol for a lot of people, because the
Yeah.
mark of death was this thing that had to be eradicated, and Arandis Vol's name for some might still elicit like fear and terror, but for the average elf, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
And so that's why I had Kara have such a strong reaction to Ezri bearing the mark that Ezri bears. Having said that, if Kara was told and understood, hey, the whole reason the mark of death was getting wiped out, like this union of the dragons and the elves, Arandis, that would freak her out, terrify her, that this person was showing up in Ezri's afterlife dreams, and then now Ari is working for her and has kind of pledged to work in her interest. Yeah, I think that would terrify Kara, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that Kara would. It's one thing she came to grips with. Ezri has the mark of death. He was born with that. Yes, it is unfair for me to judge somebody based on the circumstances of their birth. It's entirely different to say it's unfair for me to judge the actions of a person and who they decide to align themselves with. That's very fair to judge a
Yeah,
person on.
that's fair. Yeah.
And so I think Kara would still have a very strong reaction to your what? And I think it would be very hard to talk her back from that feeling.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it also because of the inverse propaganda of the
Yeah.
Aerodol elves. I mean, like it may not be true.
Mm-hmm.
It may, all the things that Kara has heard, a lot of things she probably has heard isn't true or has been exaggerated to a certain extent. That can only matter so much. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then Emily asks, for both of us, what is your favorite trap you've ever used on your players? So I personally, I had expressed that one of my favorite things about the little mini dungeon that I built was that trap, because the way I had intended the little figures to work, was that if you did the right thing, well, if you did the trigger to open the way forward, which was picking up the crown and putting it back on Colsear's head, then the little figures would, stand themselves up, pushing the floor down and reveal a passageway. And
Cool.
if you, in any way, defaced the statue, damaged the room, tried to force your way through, they would let the ceiling fall, and cave the room in. So I enjoyed that a lot for the combination of trap and door, essentially.
Mm-hmm. My favorite trap I've ever sprung on a player is extremely mundane, but was very funny because it was fairly early on in the campaign, and it just can. So Eberron Renewed, you all were attending a gala event at, I think, Varen Lassite's house,
I think that's right. We
in
did do that.
Stormreach, and there was a painter there who had some paintings on display, and Jeff's character went over and looked at one of the paintings, and I had said that this painter was like using the magic of Zoriat to like influence his paintings. And when people looked at them, there was a chance that they would suffer from a madness condition in the 5e rules. And the one that I rolled for Jeff was that his character felt compelled to lie in an exaggerating manner about his accomplishments. And Jeff did it and never stopped throughout the whole campaign. And so it was just so fun to take his character and add this one, like, not a huge like thing, just a little element, and like have a player just run with it for the rest of the game. And yeah, he made a wisdom saving throw. He failed. And it was like, okay, this is your character now. So
I think my favorite thing about that was the just entirely dry and tossed away way that Jeff did that. So like, you know, years of real time later, we're talking to someone, Jeff finishes talking his decks, and then he goes, "Oh yeah, and I'm the tallest man in Sharn." You just like throw something random in at the end as he suddenly remembered, oh right, I'm supposed to lie about myself. That was just so great, and so because it was so obvious. And you have to imagine what would real people have made of the truly just bizarre and obviously untrue thing that Dex
like
kept throwing in.
He's tall, but that can't be true, right? I've never been to Sharn, but can't possibly be true.
That was very funny. I have a hard time designing traps. I always feel really good when I design one that I like, but I have a hard time designing them when I'm much more inclined to steal them. Yeah. But well, anyway, that was very brief, but that is all of our questions. So thank you, Emily, for your questions. We hope everyone enjoyed this little quick peek into where Ari is at the moment. We ended with a lovely cliffhanger and a preparation for a fight. So come back on Monday to see how the Strike Force fares against a murder machine. New episodes of Khyber Shards on Mondays. New Khyber Shards answers on Fridays. You can find all of the links of other places to find us in the description down below. And if you want to know what Eric's talking about, Eberron Renewed podcast. That's a podcast Eric runs the game, and I am a player. I got an entire campaign and most of a second one. So go check it out on whatever podcasting app you prefer. And until next time, thanks for rolling with us.